Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to fumble! Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you're listening to this. I'm John Thunder Chadrock, head coach of the Back Alley Bandits, and with me today in the studio is Matt Doran, head coach for the Hownow Brown Cows.
Good afternoon, evening, morning, or whenever you're choosing to listen to this, John and anywhere else.
Yeah. So this is the first of our, what I'm going to term as the Coach's Corner interview series for Let's Get Ready to Fumble, interviewing members of the Spartan Cup. Intervening, whatever. I'll come up with a better word another day, but basically to fill in the gaps between recording for actual episodes, and also because it makes people feel involved. So we've got a list of questions.
I feel very involved.
Good.
I just feel like I'm really part of it now.
Absolutely, that's the spirit.
Yeah.
Good. And if you can put that in writing, that would be great. As like a review, then maybe we'll get more people volunteering.
Absolutely.
So just to let everybody know, I'm going to go through a list of questions that I've got here, which were very professionally prepared in good time, and then we're going to look at the ones that were asked on the Facebook group. So first of all, how did you get into Blood Bowl and why?
That is a good question. I think it was shortly before. Was it before or when we went up to Warhammer World? I think it actually might have been when we went up to Warhammer World. Myself, Barry, Dan. Who else went up? There was a few people who went up. It was one of the smaller Spartans group visits. I think we only had about half a dozen people. And several of us bought Blood Bowl teams because Barry was sort of pushing to try and get people to play, because it's it happens a lot in Bugman's. You get people playing Blood Bowl games in there, and it was not something I'd been particularly interested in before. It looked fun, you know. I played a little bit of American football before, and I've followed it a little bit, been to some of the Twickenham games, that sort of thing. But I thought I'd just do it just because it was something a bit more beer and pretzels, as a lot of Games Workshop games are. I think so. That would have been about 2 years ago when I first played a game of it.
Cool.
Coach Barry Gingell of the Newsork Giants. Is it Newsork Giants?
It is Newsork Giants.
Newsork Giants has the esteemed honour of getting me into Blood Bowl, and that was an Orc team, I believe.
Brilliant. Which
was the Morkin Gorkin Power Rangers.
I like it.
Yeah,
fantastic. And you came originally from Guild Ball. That's like your football game, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. English, so playing football rather than football.
Football, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Cool. And you partook in Spartan Cup 1?
I did. I took part in Bearded Steve's Spartan Cup 1. I did not do terribly well. I think I was almost perfectly middle of the pack, if I remember correctly.
Some of us dream of mid-table.
Yeah, exactly. I was very mid-table. But I was also playing the really easy, really effective beginner orc team, which is 4 blitzers, 4 black orcs, and then mid to late season I acquired a troll, and then it got guard within one game. So then my last game or so was just like this horrendous strength 4 or 5 effective middle scrum.
Nice.
And I think I ended up with 3 of my 4 blitzers had Mighty Blow, so block and Mighty Blow on 3 of the 4 guys, which is just. I was playing a very orky team.
Fantastic. So you weren't really playing football?
No, I wasn't. I had very few touchdowns across the season, like 1 or maybe 2 a game. But I averaged about 3 or 4 casualties a game at least.
And lots of fun.
Lots of fun.
Which is the more important part, yes. Grand. Well, notably, you're not playing orcs in Spartan Cup II.
Indeed not.
Why? What team are you playing? Why did you pick them? Why did you change?
I'm playing a Chaos Chosen team, the Hownow Brown Cows, as you said. I played Beastman for 8th edition, 9th Age after that stopped being a thing. Haven't done it in AOS yet, although they've just been released for Age of Sigmar. I love my goat blokes. I converted up a Beastman metal band, Horny Bastard, and the Goat Blokes.
Yep. They had a little stage, didn't they, on top of their regiment?
I had a war stage that fit into my big block of gauze. In the middle of it, there was a massive stage rising up with like speakers and a big plaque with their name on it and stuff like that. So it was good fun, and I really like Beastmen. So in my team, what I've done is obviously of the Chaos Chosen have Beastmen runners as the large part of the team. They can also have a Minotaur, another Beastman. But the 4 Chaos Warriors, as you know, I cut them apart at the waist and removed their heads, and I've replaced those with Bestigor heads and legs and sort of spliced them together, done a bit of converting. So now my whole team is Beastmen.
And I have to say, it looks really good.
Thank you very much.
Not just the uniformity, but like the way you've done it. Like it's got its own character.
Yeah.
So brilliant. But like that's why you've started this team. Why did you drop the cows? The orcs.
The orcs. That's a fair point. That was part of your question. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Forgot to answer
we'll deduct points.
It was
at the end of the exam.
demerits.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was just the desire to play something a little bit different. The orcs don't start with that many positional skills. You get block on the blitzers, and then I think the throwers start with sure hands.
I think it's sure hands rather than pass.
I think it's sure hands just to make me. They can pick up the ball quite well. That's about it.
To be fair, that's a really important part of the game.
that is, yeah. But I had one of them. But it was the desire to play something a little bit different. The Chaos teams obviously don't start with any real positional skills. You get horns on the Beastmen, but that's just because they have actual horns.
Yeah,
horns is a great skill. Though.
It is. It's
very mutation
useful.
rather.
Yeah, I was going to say like
Absolutely
skills and
fantastic.
mutations. They're broadly
the same. They function the same.
They function the same, but they feel slightly different.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you mean. But it was just the desire to play something a little bit different, to try and play a team that would both play quite effective football and could still bring a little bit of the bashiness.
Brilliant.
That was about it.
Okay. And I know this, and some of the other people listening may know, but you played in our Bloody Sunday Night Football League.
I did indeed.
With the Hownow Brown Cows.
Came dead last.
Well, I don't really know where people placed below first.
I'm pretty sure I got the fewest number of wins and most, and I got about the same number of losses as someone else.
I think you and Steely were fairly close for who came third and fourth.
Yeah, I think he had one win though, and the rest of mine were, because I lost to him.
Yeah.
In our second game, I think I lost to him, and the other one was a draw. That was when I killed his Minotaur, and I was very proud of myself. I think I came last in that, but I picked up a few cool skills along the way. Enough that the team value wasn't that high, and I had a little bit in the treasury, and obviously Commissioner Steve very kindly said that teams from that league could come in as veteran teams here.
Yep.
So I managed to afford most of the same team. I lost a few bits and pieces, but that was okay.
You kept Bacon, of course.
I kept Bacon, the Minotaur, who I think he had Juggernaut from the last game or the second to last game of that league.
I think it was the last game. You're right.
Yeah, which is his. I don't think he had it. No, that's his only skill he picked up. But he kept that. So I thought because it was between him and I can't remember what else I was going to cut, but I was potentially going to.
It was a guy with block, I think.
Oh, I don't think it was block. I think I had. No, I dropped my apothecary.
Oh, okay.
It was sort of keep the apothecary or keep the skill on Bacon, and I decided I'll pick up an apothecary after my first game. I'll probably get about 50k.
Fair enough. Yeah. So that leads quite nicely into roster choices for this league, which you very well explained there.
Yeah.
How's not having an apothecary gone for you? Is it?
It was okay because I picked up an apothecary now after, which was my game 2. Or did I have it after game 1? Yes, I had it after game 1, I think. I can't remember now, actually. I've got an apothecary now. I've played 2 games. That I can confirm. I cannot remember if I bought it after my first or second game. But I haven't had any bad hits on the injury table. All of them have been missed next games. And that was only 1. So, yeah. The others were like, you're fine, just stay out for the rest of the match.
Indeed.
Very lucky.
Yeah. Well, I'm in that corner as well.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for it.
And do you mean the second iteration of your team is in that corner?
It's actually the fourth.
The fourth.
After
all the practice runs.
After all the practice runs, the fourth iteration, which did not have an apothecary as I thought it did against Massey, so I'm quite lucky that my Doom Diver did not in fact die on that landing at the end. But again,
I saw that as well.
I've got one now, as you say, so it's fine. Because post-humorous apothecary work is always good.
Yeah.
Grand. So you've not really missed the apothecary. Is there what kind of roster goals have you got? Is there anything you'd like to mould your team into, or members of your team particularly?
I think I'd like to build a slightly bashier Beastman or Warrior. I've started doing that, so I've got a warrior with block and a warrior with which I can obviously we can get more stuck into this as and when, but Zonek has block and Vazro has guard. So I've got Vazro tends to he never really blocks himself. He'll just sit in the middle of my pack, being a strength 4 bastion and just always giving people a tackle zone. So he does very good there.
He's a Chaos Warrior.
These are both Chaos Warriors. The other Chaos Warrior, Ironhide, doesn't have any skills yet, but that's not really been a big issue. It's still like you mentioned in episode 2 of Let's Get Ready to Fumble. Strength 4 is basically a skill.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like, oh yeah, I always up will block you unless I can get a friend. Yeah,
and even then
it's basically a skill.
So while they don't have any positional skills themselves, like you say, Strength 4 actually has its own benefits. But with guard as well, that means because normally, say on a dwarf team, big fans of guard, they're going to have someone with guard in the middle. But he can still be punched, and often it will be a 1 dice at worst.
Yeah.
But with your guy at Strength 4, it's you just put him between 2 other mates and
Strength 4 and Armor 9, and he's really annoying to have to deal with.
Absolutely, he's annoying.
He's the sort of target that you don't want to have to block, so you will avoid blocking him, which means he's always giving out his guard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So good.
But I'll just mention the other thing I've got is
let's just go through your roster at this point.
Okay, I can run it through quickly.
When you've got any skill ups that you've chosen, just a little explanation of why.
Explanation. Well, I'm going to mention I'm just going to rattle off that number 1 Baruk, number 4 Takthor, and number 12 Murzauk have no skills. They are just generic beastmen. They've got a couple of SPP between them. They're generic. They're boring. Same with Ironhide, the warrior has nothing. After my last game, number 2 Shatterarm managed to get in my a touchdown for which wasn't a winner because I was ahead, but managed to get in the 3rd touchdown for that game. And that netted him a skill up because he also, I think, got the MVP for that game as well.
Good for him. Well done,
so he's sprouted an additional head, which is really handy. So this is something that you've mentioned before on the show, and we've discussed a lot in
because we live together.
Yeah, exactly. In the flat was the words I was searching for. But I couldn't think of the end of the sentence.
I mean, because we're flatmates and we talk.
Exactly, we do occasionally.
Unlike those other flatmates who never talk to each other
or communicate telepathically.
I mean, I haven't graduated from psychic school yet, so.
But I'm a big fan of, or I didn't do it when I was playing my orcs. I do it now with my Beastmen, which is sort of diversifying the skills and just picking up a bit more left field picks that can do some interesting stuff, but maybe aren't what you generally see. For example, I'd say only one of the guys has block. Now 2 of them have block, which we'll come on to. But the additional head is fun because it means you dodge out on a 2, which makes it a very reliable way to dodge out.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah,
that's a glorious feeling.
I figured as he's done a touchdown run, maybe I'd give him something that assists with him doing that more. As you said in the last episode, take skills or mutations that are going to get you SPP. I've then got Nogdax, number 3, who's got leader. I just took it because it was a way to get an additional reroll, and I didn't think of anything else I wanted on him at that point.
It's a fair enough skill pick, especially if you're going to mould him into a passer or a thrower.
Yeah. Number 5 Grimhoof, who in the 2nd game of the Bloody Sunday Night League took a serious concussion, reduced his armor by 1, so he's now armor 7. I think that was game 2 of that league. He then completed the next 4 games of that league, and he's been through the first 2 games of this season and hasn't taken a serious injury yet. He's been knocked out a couple of times, but he hasn't taken a serious injury, or been injured rather, yet.
Well, there you go.
He keeps getting blocked, and then people roll 7 or less, and I'm really fine with it. He's been very resilient. And he's got an extra arm, and now he's got wrestle.
Oh, fantastic.
Which was just a bit of fun. There's 2 dwarf teams in this in TSC.
And you haven't played either of them yet?
No, not yet. I've got that fun to come. The defending champions, Warhogs, and the block and rollers, so I just took wrestle because you'll block him and say, has he got block? And I'll say, no. And you'll say, well, then I'll take them both down. And I'll be like, cool, we wrestle. And then, me and my opponent will both take off our shirts, grease up, roll about on the floor for a bit, and then go back to the game.
Cool. Which is a good thing that this isn't on the clock, because that could really eat into your turn time.
Yeah, it really can. Yeah. I think you'd pause the timer for that one and just say.
I'd have to check the rulebook. I think.
I don't know if greased up wrestling is in the Guild Ball OPD or indeed the Blood Bowl
in the
Blood Bowl OPD.
Yes.
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, so he's got a couple of skill ups now. He's doing pretty well. Number 6 Bloodmane is the Beastman I want to turn into my beta. He's had Claw for a long time and unfortunately never reliably rolls. He's very good at hitting people. He's very bad at rolling an 8+ on 2d6. So he tends to just sort of punch people and knock them back. But I'm hoping I can get him a little bit more. He's sitting on 10 SPP at the moment. So if I can get him like an MVP and a casualty, get him that extra one, maybe give him Mighty Blow. I'm not really sure. I've already got Mighty Blow on someone else. I'd rather take... What could I give him? Something... I don't know, something additional. I'll think
I'm
of
going to say this, and I hate myself slightly for saying it, but block in that scenario because
Yeah.
you're looking to make the armor rolls as often as possible, and block allows you.
That's true.
And you know me about the block skill. But you've already got Claw, so you're
The
already
other
down
thing
the
I'm
route
thinking
of
with
being
Claw,
unimaginative.
if I give him Mighty Blow, he only needs a 7 on 2d6 to get 3 people's armor, which
That's
is quite
fair.
nice. And on the Blitz, he's Strength 4, so he's getting 2 dice, because he's got horns,
It's
obviously.
very nice.
So actually, Mighty Blow kind of makes sense
Yeah.
on him with Claw. And I took Claw because I just really like the idea of Claw, and he's the one I haven't converted yet, actually, which is quite sad. I needed to get just like a Gene Stealer Claw and ram it on the end of his hand.
Well, I was meant to give you one, so I guess you could blame me for that.
If you've got a Gene Stealer hanging around, or particularly if anyone's got like an old
Just hang around at the closet.
Slaneshi Demonet, I think I'd quite like.
Yeah, those.
Like
that would be cool.
not even the old metal ones, even the newer plastic ones, because I
Yeah.
only want the hand, and they've got quite nice crab claw things going
Yeah.
on. So something like that would be quite nice.
Cool.
Then I've got my all-star, Catchnatch, who was written as Cacnac, and I used to call Cacnac, but he's caught so many balls, he's now Catchnatch.
Okay.
I've changed the way they pronounce the C. So he's got an extra arm, he has dodge, and he's now got block as well.
Crikey.
So he's now, you have one, you need a 6, or he's fine. And with extra arm, he's good at catching, good at picking up, can try for the intercept, but he doesn't. So
Wow.
this is something you mentioned in the other episodes. Extra arm is catching, picking up, and intercepting.
Indeed.
And it's a +1 for that. And he's now, with those 3, and he's got 5 completions, 4 touchdowns, 2 casualties, and 2 MVPs. He's sitting at 31 SPP. He's just hit the extra skill, which was him getting blocked.
So what you're saying is
Yeah,
he's the
no.
target? And
That's what I was worried was going to happen when I mentioned him.
indeed.
Please leave him alone.
Well, I still have treasury money for bounties because Dyson turned down the payment.
For killing. But I won't say from what he did because you might want to go into that in the episode.
indeed.
No spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I want to almost want to record Steely's facial reaction when I get him to describe
No, yeah,
his
and
feelings on the game.
I watched that whole situation as
Yeah.
it developed. It was atrocious.
Indeed.
I've then got Zinek and Vazura, the 2 warriors who have block and guard respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Bacon, who we've already mentioned, has Juggernaut. So and Juggernaut's been very handy because 70 to 80% of the time the Minor is the one that blitzes unless I need the blitz to do something else in the game. The fact that he can then treat the block, the both downs rather, as pushes is incredibly useful. And I think, is it Fend the one, or is it
counts as
Grab
Fend.
the one where you can push the people where you want them? Is it Grab?
It is grab, but counter to what I said on the last episode, you can't have grab and frenzy any time. As soon as you get one skill or start with it, you are disallowed from getting the other. It doesn't say that under the frenzy rule, it says under grab, which is why I hadn't spotted it.
Oh, that's
sorry,
upsetting.
everyone. And yourself, because I was pretty keen on that combination.
Yeah, I was quite liking the idea of that. I did almost... I do kind of want to go down the route of, what was the Minotaur that we discussed the other day?
The football
AG,
Mino.
Yeah, the AG3 Mino with...
Break, tackle, and
yeah.
juggernaut. Yeah,
which just sounds hilarious. The weird freaking tight end super rusher.
and then you get to the stage where you've got Chaos Warriors and Vampires who are like, I'm not going to blitz that.
Sorry, you want to come and blitz the strength 5 thing?
Yeah, which yeah. Now you mentioned that you're usually blitzing on your Minotaur.
Yes.
That relates very specifically because wild animal.
Yes, indeed it does.
Because if you want to move him at all, it gets a lot better if you can promise him a punch at the end. Of
Yeah,
that.
well, no, you can. So you can block as well. If
of
you're
course.
blocking,
Yeah,
it's
but if you want to
2 up to block or blitz. But if you're not, it's then 4+.
Indeed. So how do you feel like that? Because a lot of people talk about the Minotaur as one of the worse big guys.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Okay.
wild animal is unreliable if you simply want to reposition, whereas a lot of them can benefit by just getting guard and being able to stand or move. So, I mean, have
true.
you at any point felt that the Minotaur might not have been the best big guy for your team? I know you don't get a choice, but would you have ever have preferred
So the other option I would have had would be to take an additional Chaos Warrior and then have enough money to almost get. I think I could almost get an additional reroll and have started with 3. Because this was originally I would have been able to have 3 rerolls, whereas I only had 2 at the start. Where I'm now up to 3. The only time it annoys me is when he gets knocked down.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you're knocked down, you don't really want to. He's only moved 5, so you don't want to be able to have to use 3 of his blitz move to get up, and then go 2. And you need
and maybe go for it to have to actually hit something. Exactly,
which is kind of sketchy. So if he gets knocked down and he can't use the blitz because I need it elsewhere, it is a bit irritating. That's about it. But generally, it still seems to serve me pretty well. I really like having him at 8 because he either draws a lot of attention, and people focus on him, and they're not so worried about the Beastmen, who are actually the ones getting me points. He's only got. I'm gonna have to reach down for my sheet again. Sorry for stepping away from the mic. I say he has actually got 4 casualties. To be fair, but that's in 8 games.
Yeah, quite a long time.
That's only 1 takeout every other game. That's not. 1 casualty every other game. That's not that many at all. It just actually shows that I've been playing a lot more football. My casualties are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13. 13 takeouts in 8 games for a Chaos team. That's not that many.
Well, I mean, getting takeouts, I've always said, is an unreliable way to try to award SPP or earn it.
Yeah, you mentioned it quite effectively. You summed it up quite nicely in the last episode. It's a lot more difficult to engineer a casualty.
Exactly, than engineer a touchdown. But, I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, who's to complain? And I think the Minotaur, because it starts with Horns and Frenzy, is actually one of the stronger ones, even with Wild Animal.
It's fantastic to be able to put 1 Beastman next to a target and then have 3 dice when you blitz.
It's beautiful.
So nice.
I wouldn't know, because I've only ever been on the receiving end, and that's not been beautiful.
What was a little bit sad, though, is when I was playing John's Lost Boys. John Parrish, with the Lost Boys, obviously has a lot of strength 2 skinks running around. I blocked those with 3 dice.
Yeah.
Wasn't prepared for that. Completely forgot about it when I'm like, I'm just going to block this guy. And I was like, what's the strength 2? Oh, wait. 5 is more than double 2. I get 3 dice. Boof.
I find I have to remind people, and they're like, I'm going to pick up 2 guys. I'm like, no, friend, that's going to be 3 dice block. Like, I'm only strength 5. Yes. And I am only strength 2. So,
but then it was a lot of I couldn't roll the defender down.
Yeah.
I could only roll defender stumbles or pushes or both downs, which I counted as pushes a lot of the time. So it was just my Minotaur was just moving skinks about. It was kind of skink herding the skinks, just like come back, and that was about it.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of those, let's talk about your games thus far. I mean, this is going to be a much longer section in future interviews when people have had more than 2 games.
Yes.
So I guess I'm doing you a disservice at this point.
That's fine. That's okay.
So you played John in the second round.
I did.
And in the first round, you played Steely.
Steely Dan Brown.
The grudge match at the beginning of this series, because in the Bloody Sunday Night League, your games were always the ones that were, I think, I'm not going to say most competitive. It's not quite the right phrase, but
there were slogs. There was 2 people slugging at each other.
I think, you both thought those were the games that you had the best chance to beat your opponent.
Yes.
Because you were either playing my elves, who were just football, or Hannah's dwarves, who were better at bashing.
Yeah.
So when you got to fight another team that was somewhere in like the tier 2 band, you were like, well, this is when it's going to go down.
Both do it. We can do it. And then it just turned into sort of, it was immovable force and unstoppable force and immovable object. It was kind of tended to be very butting heads and no one giving any ground up.
Yeah. And then whose ever dice failed first was going to lose the game.
Pretty much the way of it.
Yeah. But how did that first game go?
Well, Steely obviously discussed it on the last episode. It was we
can get your perspective too.
Absolutely. It was a 3-2 loss for me. So 3-2 victory for Steely. With, as he mentioned, he got 2 touchdowns within the first 3 turns because I think was there a blitz or the other one that gives him an extra turn?
The blitz is when you get a free turn, and the right is when the clock's moved.
Yeah, so this was the one where he got an additional turn. I can never remember the names.
I think it was a blitz. Thinking back,
I think it was on the very first drive, and it meant that he threw his goblin over before I could get the ball. He picked up the ball and then ran off and was like, basically, I think maybe even in the end zone by the time he got up. It was something ridiculous. or very close to it at least. And then he managed to get guys around the edge to mark the people who would have been able to go and deal with the goblin, who then, if they did get to the goblin, couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
So he got a touchdown like turn 2, and then another one turn 3, I think ish.
Yeah. And how did you feel at that point in the game?
I was slightly frustrated, especially seeing as the first one I basically had no chance to prevent. It was a bit of a to be 3 or 4 turns into a game and 2-0 down, and just wondering how the hell you were supposed to come back from that. But done my hooves in, and I think by turn 8 of the first half I'd scored the equaliser, so it was back to 2-2.
Yeah. So you did say he got into a slightly overconfident funk, and then at the end of the first half realised he wasn't winning anymore.
I did some absolute nutcase plays as well. There was some proper this is me using the word correctly. There were some very janky plays going on of sort of okay, so the guys with extra arms or the guys with any decent skills that will be useful in the situation are all tied up and can't get to it. So this warrior with no skills is going to take a 4-up dodge there, then a 3-up dodge there, a 3-up pick up the ball, then move 2 spaces and throw to that guy. Oh, sorry, if I go for it, I don't have to throw over one of your players, so let's go for it. And then make a short pass to someone who picks it up and then razzes down the field. Oh no! Actually, tell a lie. That was towards the later half of the second, quarter. That was towards quarter 4, because that was me actually going for the third touchdown to try and equalise. I do tell a lie there, but yeah, I managed to bring 2 touchdowns in.
Yeah,
and then as he mentioned, I think it was midway through the third quarter. I think he mentioned it as happening at a slightly different time. I think it was around turn 2 or 3 of the second half was when T-Owens was thrown high into the sky and came down on his head. This is controversial
because he won a bet based on his words.
Yes, I heard.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
T-Owens didn't die until the second half.
There we have it from an independent adjudicator who was witness to the match.
Sorry, Steely.
Which means neither of us won our bet because no one died on turn 1 either.
I believe it was turn 2, but it was of the second half, which I think is where he's maybe getting the false memory from.
But so Terrell Owens, Goblin superstar of the Bash Street Bullies, died. Finally, I mean, let's be honest, he's been thrown a lot. And he's had a few injuries from being thrown, or at least been removed from the match.
But he also sprouted an extra arm at some point in all that as well.
Yeah. But so that was a sad day for Steely. But so after that, did you may have bought your apothecary then? You're not sure. Did you make any other changes to your roster?
Yes. What did I do? Who got something? Someone got something after that. Was when I got wrestle.
Ah, cool.
That was when I got wrestle on Grimhoof, and that was purely because, like I said, lots of dwarfs in this team, or there's plenty of other people who just take block as a skill.
Yeah, I was gonna say
blitzers
are always
easy to take.
Yeah.
And lots of blitzers have block as standard, so it's just nice for them. I'm never going to point it out. I mean, if you listen to this, try and remember, but I'm never going to point it out to you.
He may possibly point it out at the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah. People say want me to run through my list and let you know who's got what. I'll just say, he's got wrestle, blah 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 blah, and then it won't be brought up again because I will play the gotcha.
Wow. What's it for other than that,
Exactly.
That's why I promote these unknown skills, because people always check for the very well-known ones.
Yeah.
So I hope you catch a few people out. I hope
one
of them's not me. Although if it is me, I won't have anyone with block by the looks of things.
I hope it's one of the dwarves.
Yeah, cross fingers.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, and then you had your game against John, who's completely new.
Yep.
Learned to play in the school of YouTube, which he may have finished one video of watching. And obviously you and John, you do roll better together.
We do.
You guys are great mates. And I think everybody, if they know John, is looking forward to their game with him.
Yeah, it's a good laugh.
Even though he definitely shouted midway through your game at Barry to ask why he bothered playing football.
Yeah. That was an interesting game. For that. It was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of silliness. I think his Croxagore T-Rect rolled a total of 5 ones for his stupid checks across the game. So yeah, he was out of the 16 turns. He was out for a quarter of that. And the rest of the time, he only had 2 or 3 turns where the Crocs really did anything. So that was a shame. He did. Yeah, for him, not for me. I loved it. He did create something called the Fuck Squad.
Yep.
Which he was yelling quite loudly at. Like,
I think it was the only enjoyable part of the game for him, and this was
6 or 7 skinks surrounding my my Minotaur. Hang on, 3, 6, 7, 8. You can have 8, but I think there was 1 square missing. Yeah. So I believe it was 7. So it was 6 moved in, and then just 1 just went and punched him, and I think all he did was like knock him down.
But he stayed knocked down for a while, I understand.
Yeah, but then I started doing other stuff, and the skinks had to split up to go and deal with the things who were actually going to score points, and then the Mino was left with 3 skinks and just suddenly started braining them. Like, I think I only got 1 casualty in that game, though. I think I took out 1 Saurus. One Saurus who might miss next game, or no, he was out just for the rest of the game. 1 Saurus got knocked out, 1 skink got knocked out, but there was only 1 casualty. I, however, lost 3 players knocked out throughout the game, maybe 4, because the Saurus were doing work.
Yeah, they're very much like your Chaos Warriors, except they've got lower agility, which is really relevant when you're rolling block dice.
Exactly. And the fact that he can have 6 of them.
Yes, which I'm sure he will do by the end of the league.
I should hope so.
Well, I think he's going to give up on the football.
Which is a shame, because that's what the skinks want to be doing. Like, that you should just have the Saurus making holes and then the skinks razzing through. But yeah, no, we had a lot of fun in that. I'm trying to think of anything else ridiculous that happened apart from that. He had 2 Saurus in the middle of the field, and I cannot remember their names. He's got some fantastic names for his players, though, who the entire game were just holding in the middle of the field. Like, they didn't. I think they may have gone down once or twice each, but that was about it. But they were just constantly making holes and keeping my Chaos Warriors tied up. There was some silly incidents throughout the game, and unfortunately I can't remember them all. I'm going to start taking better notes during my games, I think.
Fair enough. Well, I should be, because I'm doing this whole show thing on it. And
absolutely.
I text myself a few times, and then I stopped. In both my games with Hownow and Matty, because I was... Well, in Hannah's one I was pretty upset, and in John's one I was making sure he didn't think I was a complete arsehole.
Well, but overall, sorry, I'll just sort of say, but my game with John was a lot of fun, and he obviously still very new to the game, but yeah, it was a 3-0 win. Yeah.
Well, I think it was his first game was a 3-1 win, and he's picked a not like lower end of tier 2 team.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have a lot of fun. And I think he's resigned himself to not winning too.
I don't know. I think Lizardmen are a little bit higher up than that. I think if we're saying they're sort of tier 1 of the top teams, tier 2, and then tier 3.
Yeah.
I would say towards the top of tier 2 they can be. Maybe not so much early on, but I think get some skills and a couple of.
They can certainly be scary later on. Yeah. Absolutely. So good for you for getting them out of the way.
Yeah.
Earlier. I've written down without thinking here. Favourite game of the league so far? You've got 2. Pick a favourite.
Oh, I see. John's was the one I enjoyed most, but Steely's was the one that had more to it, if you follow me, because there was a lot more going on, because it was 3-2, and there were a lot more sort of weird interactions when you got 3 big guys on one side and then the stuff I had. So I think my one with Steely was more interesting. My one with John was more fun. So
very diplomatic.
I wouldn't be able to pick between the two of them. And it gets a bit early, like you say, at this point for me to pick my definite favourite game.
Absolutely, but I'm going to ask everybody. So
absolutely, yeah.
Didn't want you to feel left out.
Thank you.
Did you have any tactics for your team when you go into a game? Like, do you have when you set up on the line of scrimmage for kicking and receiving? Do you think I definitely want this guy here so I can run there and get a pass off, maybe? Or
that's a good question. The one that springs to mind is I always have. I had to check that it's Vazra, number 9 with guard. He deploys next to my Minotaur, and that means that whoever my Minotaur blocks, he has a crowd out on. So if he blitzes, he might be able to get 3 dice. Yeah. And it also means that people just have more trouble hitting the Minotaur, which is always nice. And then I usually spread out the warriors and leave a space between them and stick an unskilled beastmen in the gaps. And that's how I form my line. And then the wings tend to be if I'm receiving the ball, it will be Grimhoof and I've forgotten his names already. Catchnatch, terrible. I can remember when I'm on the field. Grimhoof and Catchnatch, the 2 really reliable extra arm guys. They start in the backfield to recover the ball, and then if there's not an obvious run, they'll just sort of pass it between them, and that just generates some extra SPP for them, which is why they have 5 completions each.
It's not to do with tactics. It's just getting some in-game training.
They just go beep, beep. It's just them playing catch. So they tend to deploy at the back, and I particularly try and keep Grimhoof off of the line because he's only armor 7, so he's never really in the ruck.
Yeah,
he's basically plays a safety a lot of the time. He'll just sit back, and if someone gets through, then I've always got someone deep field to go off and blitz, and then he's good at recovering the ball.
Fair enough.
And then the guy with claw, Bloodmane, will normally be on one of the wings, and that's usually because it means he can, if he gets to blitz, he's usually got someone who's on their own to hit, which means he can usually get 2 dice. That's about it.
Cool. Fair enough. I mean, I don't, like, if someone asked me that question, my answer would be I try to keep my Doom Diver safe and holding the ball for as long as possible.
That's also a fair response, though.
Yeah, like as far as Blood Bowl tactics go, I've got some, but they usually break, and then I have to re-evolve them on the
absolutely.
pitch. So I'm just interested to see what...
No plans for first contact with the enemy.
Indeed, but I mean, it might be interesting for other people to, especially with a more similar team. So, like, the Dwarf players might see that and adapt their own tactics, and then later on, similarly, you might pick up something else. Cool. So we've done the roster because it made more sense earlier on. No plan, survives contact, etc. What's your dream matchup?
Plan's a strong word.
Yeah, it was planned. I wrote it down. Your dream matchup and why?
Who I want to play.
Like, which is the game you're most looking forward to?
I think the game I was or am most looking forward to. That's an interesting one.
Was at the beginning of the league.
Yeah.
So let's include everybody.
Okay, so from the beginning of the league, who was I most looking forward to? The game I was most interested to play was against the Lost Boys because I used to love my Lizardmen when I used to play, and I was tempted by a Lizardmen team, so I really wanted to see how they played. Obviously, with John being somewhat inexperienced at Blood Bowl, we didn't get to see what they could potentially do beyond the fact of him still figuring out, like, when I was playing my orcs, I can just punch that guy. That's great. It doesn't really build towards the win. Yeah. And John's also natural cavalier attitude to the game because it's if I roll a 1, I can't do anything anyway. So what's the fucking point? It's like doing that. That helped me at least. But that was still one I was really interested to. I'm trying to remember who else. Is it the Calador Croydonians on my next match, I believe?
Yeah, that's Johnny Fresh Elf Union. No, the Calador Croydonians.
Or have I got them mixed up?
The South London Blades are Johnny Chill's Dark Elves.
South London Blades, that's it. Yeah, the Dark Elves. So I'm really interested to play against them as well. I'm quite liking the sound of that because there's a lot of armor 7 and a bit of armor 8 in that team.
Mostly armor 8.
Oh, is it mostly
Sorry
armor?
to burst you, bubbles.
No, that's okay.
Just the Witch Elves and the Runners who are armor 7. The Dark Elves are the tough, in inverted commas. Well, they are the tough elven team.
Armor 8's not so bad though. But I'm looking forward to playing them because it'd be interesting to play against a really fast team, and I really want to see how the Witch Elves perform because they look nuts.
I think he's got 1.
Okay, well,
he's got a runner as well.
Probably for the best for me.
But he's got 4 blitzers. And they've got move 7.
That's pretty quick. And they have block, I'm guessing?
They have block, yeah. I think that's the only starting
Prime time to wrestle, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if the mic picked up my rubbing hands.
I can hear it, so hopefully our players,
I'm really
our listeners will be as disturbed by that as I was.
Yeah.
What's the matchup you're least looking forward to?
The Warhogs.
Why? Yeah,
I'm not even letting you finish the question. It's definitely facing the defending champs, who are a very highly ranked, very competently played. They're
dwarf. Like as Matthew was going through his lineup for me, I was like, great, good news, fab. He has 2 players, I think, without skill ups, and most of those skill ups are guard or strength. And they come with block.
Just saying dwarves.
Indeed.
It feels foul on the tongue. It's like a curse.
I have to disagree, unfortunately. But also, their linemen have tackle, so the dodge skill is removed. It's a really strong team.
Yeah, it really is.
It's tier 1 for a reason, and I think I think the answer to that question for a lot of coaches is going to be Massey.
Even in the TCS North, they're just like, I don't want to play against
I don't really
the
want
Warhogs.
to make it into the playoffs, then I'll have to play the Warhogs.
I'll tell you a team I really do want to play against, though, and I'm hoping I can just play a friend against it, is the New Zork Giants. I really want to play against Barry's Ogres.
I'm sure he'll give you the opportunity.
I'm hoping so.
Who's your bye week on the note of?
My bye week is week 4, I believe.
Okay.
So I don't know
Yeah,
who else is
too far in the
bye
future.
for. So I've got Johnny is my next matchup, and then my bye week, I believe.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Who would you like to play from the north? Now that you don't know, who would you like your bye week to be against?
Well, New Zork.
Of course,
we
literally just answered that.
If Barry's bye week is also week 4, fantastic.
Even better.
Who else would I quite like to play against? I'm trying to think of teams I haven't played against as much.
Weirdly, the teams, I know it was a random draw, we've got video evidence of that, but the teams have kind of been racially segregated. So we've got elves and dwarves and like the lizards and the goblins in ours.
Yeah.
And then in the north, we've got the orcs, we've got the Skaven, you've got the humans, and you've got ogres. That's kind of how it's split. There's no.
I'd like to play against what are they called now? Blah 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 blah.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. No, that'd be a really unimaginative name if someone did that. We might have to kill a bit of dead air because I can't think. Underworld Impalers.
Oh,
Dyson's vampire team.
Indeed, yeah.
I'm interested to see how that works because I'm tempted by a Bretonian team.
Oh, of course.
Who is kind of a similar principle of 4 guys who are very, very good and do most of the things, followed by, several guys who are a bit maybe less good. Although I think there's for the Bretonians there's yeomen and militiamen or something.
You have yeomen and just linemen.
Something else, but the yeomen are actually pretty decent.
They have armorate and wrestle.
Yeah, which I really
they're
like.
Blockers. They're effectively just blockers. And that is really good. It's nice defensively and also weird like for sacking ball carriers and stuff.
Which I quite like. And
the linemen all have fend.
Yeah, which is nice. But yeah, I'd like to play against the Underworld players. I just want to see because the vampire team sounds like a lot of nonsense can occur, and I'd like to see how that plays.
Well, like you say, like the Bretonian team, they have to come up with slightly non-conventional tactics because they've got the 4 players. I think that's a good pick. So I hope you get either of them on your bye week.
Fingers crossed.
Brilliant.
Well, I think Dyson's had his bye week already.
Oh, you're quite right. Yes. So it's
because you'll come on to that. I'm sure.
Yeah, indeed. Next episode. But it's basically Massey as your. I don't want to play this game.
Yeah, sorry, John. I just don't want to play anybody.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I have him week 6 or 7. It's like just before the end of the league.
Yeah, no, because he's actually got a really nasty end to the league, even for the defending champions. So he's playing the Lost Boys in like week 6.
Yeah.
And then he's playing you.
I think it's me.
Then he's playing Steely, and then he's playing Hannah. And all of you will have like a lot of games. Even the Lost Boys then are going to be having a couple of skill ups from MVPs.
Playing 3 veteran teams and 1 Lizardmen team who could potentially have some good skill ups by that point.
And you're all fairly fighty teams. And speaking to John, I know that he's not looking forward to that particular gauntlet because basically, say like he loses 1 player to next game, against the Lost Boys. Cool, he can still field a whole squad. He'll probably have been able to buy an extra lineman, so he doesn't even have to put the Death Roller on. Yeah. Then he plays like you, then he gets 2 players out because you're more fighty. And then he's like, okay, cool. So next game, I'm going in and I have to put the Death Roller out on my starting 11. And then he goes against Steely and he's like, oh, there's 2 more who've been knocked out. So he goes against Hannah.
And he might not be able to
he's like a 10-man team. Yeah, he's like a 10-man team. And he's playing the other dwarf team who I think is a gentler slope towards the end. And Hannah's obviously got a team that's gone through a league.
Yeah.
And she's pretty experienced at it. She's like you said because you gave her the Blood Bowl. We're talking about Blood Bowl, Guild Ball intro game. She picks things up very quickly.
Yeah.
I think Steely and I both found that because she'd never really played. She played SBG before.
She played a little bit of that.
But she's not really been into tabletop wargaming as much as the rest of us. But she picked up a lot of the play styles and the hints and tricks. I really enjoyed it too, which is a plus.
Always good.
But yeah, so when at the end of that gauntlet, Massey's not going to.
I think that the hope will be that he gets, for him at least, will be his ones just miss next games. So he's just got like a rolling roster of 2 guys out.
Even then, he says because of that gauntlet, he may not make the playoffs because if he's rolling 2 people off each time, he has to start with the Death Roller on.
I'll be all right.
Yeah, but so from his point of view, like, because talking to him, I think everybody's scared to play him. He's like, yeah, but I don't want this to happen. So from his point of view, I can see exactly where he's coming from.
Yeah, no, I understand. I wouldn't want to run through those 4 teams at the end of the league, and I've got half of them, I think.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to play.
I think the Warhogs and Rockhams are both towards the end for me.
Yeah.
Both dwarf teams.
Well, I had to start with them.
Yeah, exactly. But at least they're out of the way.
Yeah.
It's done. The band.
Now I've got you and Steely to face.
Yeah.
And then I've got the Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, of course we've got our game as well still to come.
Absolutely.
Goblins are fun.
By that point, I might know how to play them, so hopefully I can give you a rough time.
In our game, didn't we had 4 takeouts within 2 turns? When we played a test game.
Yeah, the test game when the very first game I played Goblins, and I just talk about Cavalier. We only played a half.
We only played a half, and by the end of it, you had 7 players out, and I had 4.
Yeah.
No, 5.
And I think both of us were very uncomfortable about putting our players back on the field.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll go better for one of us in our next game. Where do you think you'll finish on the leaderboard? Do you think you'll make the playoffs? To begin
That's
with.
a good one. How many teams make the playoffs in each conference?
I believe it's 2.
It's only 2.
I think
it would guess it would be 2 because then it'll be 2 down to 4 for both conferences for the final. I think unfortunately I'll probably end about mid-table again, which means I won't get to play in either bowl, which is fine.
Fair.
But yeah, I'm expecting to sort of end up mid-table. I'm going to go for the playoffs. Obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, having lost a game and won a game, I could go either way at this point. Frankly.
Absolutely.
And there's lots of other tough teams.
And hey, you've still got to play me, so
exactly.
Depending on dice, you could get an easy win.
There's plenty
there.
of tough teams, and there's also you to play.
Yeah. I think I'm the high variance team.
High variance is
it
the
either
way I
goes
would
very
define
well
them.
or very badly.
Yeah, they are the epitome of high variance.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you think you'll end mid-table?
I think I'll probably end mid-table.
Well, I mean, at that point, you can always arrange to play friendlies. And
yeah, of course.
Depending on what Bearded Steve says, those games might count towards league SPP and stuff.
Oh, that'd be good.
That because
the
concern there is just as an administrative thing. And this is entirely down to Steve's decision as the commissioner. But like the people in the playoffs and the people in the Spoon Bowl get more games, so their teams actually just get better.
Yeah.
Less important for the Spoon Bowl, but more important for the teams that get the extra games and have already been doing really well.
My concern now off the top of my head is how much I might have to start saving up now so that I can rebuy my team if I want to play it for a 3rd season.
Yeah.
Because there's some, I mean, Catch Snatch is worth 130k.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot because one of his skills is a double.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have dodge normally.
No.
When I rolled the double, I was like dodge. It wasn't even a thought. It was he's getting dodge.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's a lot of money.
So might you think about not on my list of questions, but a fair one? Might you think about changing your team next season?
Yeah, potentially. It'll either be the Hownow Brown Cows coming back for another season with like just 1 or 2 players that are in from this season. So a lot of them will be rookies. Or I might look to convert up a Bretonian team.
Ooh, I like that.
Because that could be really interesting to play. And I've seen some really cool ones where like so just get the starter set humans, cut off the heads, Bretonian men-at-arms heads on.
Oh, yeah.
And then a few converted Sigmarines with some Bretonian parts.
That's cool. Like slapping on some shields or something.
Put some little shields on. It's mainly the heads as well.
Yeah.
And then like scrape off some iconography. I've seen some really cool looking ones. So I might look to do something like that.
Well, that's cool.
Something a bit different.
Cool. Well, while we're talking about predictions, who do you think is going to podium and who do you think is going to win the Spoon Bowl, in inverted commas?
So who's gonna go to the playoffs and who's gonna go to the Spoon Bowl?
Who's going to go to the playoffs
conference?
and then who's going to win?
Okay.
And then who's going to go to the Spoon Bowl
And who's going to win?
Yeah,
Win.
the win. Achieve the Spoon Bowl.
I think it's obvious that Massey's still got a really good shot at this with the strength of his team and the way, and he knows how to play them really well. So I think John Scott and the John and the Warhogs have got a very good chance of going through. Actually, from our conference, my other pick might be Steely.
Mm-hmm.
If he can keep going the way he did against me, I don't know if he's played his. What was his?
He's played his second. Oh no,
week 2.
Week 2 was his bye with Dyson.
Of course,
because we keep
mentioning
it.
We're skirting the issue. I'll try not to mention. Okay, so he's had his bye. If he can keep going, if he can play as well as he did in our game, and sort of capitalise on that and go forward, I think he's got a good shout to.
I understand there may have been some alterations to his roster.
Yeah, I'm very aware of that as well.
That may prevent him from performing at such quite a high level. But we'll confirm.
Skirting the issue, Chad. Skirting the issue.
Indeed.
But yeah, no, I think he's got a good chance potentially. I I don't know if the stars align, maybe myself, and the other one I would say is Hannah's not got a bad shout as well.
Yeah,
I think another returning team, and she's been playing pretty impressively. I think those
indeed.
are probably the ones I think are best shot.
And she's had quite an easy start to the season,
which is good.
Yeah, for
Build
any
up your
team.
strength.
She had me first of all when I didn't know what I was doing with goblins, and I took half my team off the field.
Yeah.
Well, a third of my team at the point off the field, and she then played the South London Blades.
And that's another rookie team.
I think she lost that one.
I think she lost 3-2,
3-1, 3-2.
Yeah.
But Dark Elves play elves.
Very quick.
The only other elf team she's played she's had more experience doing the fighting game
Yeah.
against you two before in our other league than the 2 games she played against me as football.
Sure.
And I think Dark Elves play quite different to how I play.
Yeah, I think they do.
I think Johnny's taking a couple more scrum risks than I did.
Well, that's good because I want to try and fight the elves a little bit more because I can't really outrun them.
No, I think you can look forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Brilliant. So, who do you think would be the surprise? Oh, Spoon Bowl.
Spoon Bowl. It always feels rude saying who do I think is going to do badly.
Well, that's why I asked the question. I want to make other people look bad because we always talk about it in the episodes.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll probably end up being John purely down to inexperience. That's
Fair
because you're coming into a league where a lot of people have played already. It's like I did quite badly. I think I was, like I said, mid, maybe lower table when I played my Orcs for the first time, and they're a much easier team to use than Beastman.
Yeah, he's gone in at the deep end.
Yeah, exactly. And initially he was coming in, I think, with 1 reroll. I think he's got 2 now because I was just like, you need a second reroll.
Indeed.
So I think, unfortunately, John may struggle into because it's quite tough. The whole league is quite tough teams in there.
Of the 2 conferences, our one's tougher because we've got the returning dwarf teams and even the base elf teams are pretty.
Again, if stuff goes sideways for me, there's no reason I couldn't end up in there. And then maybe you, depending on yours, is going to be entirely luck.
High variance.
It's high variance. If stuff goes right for you in the next couple of games, you'll be fine.
Absolutely.
If you have some bad rolls or stuff goes a little bit sideways, you might end up in the Spoon Bowl.
Yeah, depending on my skill selection for my players, and if my Doom Diver chooses to kill himself again, although, as mentioned, I've now got an apothecary. That's fair.
But it's like, in TCS North, for example, I think Barry has a good chance of ending up in either for exactly the same reason. He's a very experienced player, and if it goes well, he can do well. But he's already re-racked because it hasn't gone well. Yeah. And if it keeps going badly, he may end up in the Spoon Bowl.
And you can't fight dice.
No, exactly. It is Blood Bowl after all.
Yeah. The best you can do is plan to fail and then realise, well, if I plan to fail, then I'm going to be ending my turn and that's it. Cool. Brilliant. Well, now that's the end of my interview questions.
Oh, that's your prepared statement.
Yeah. You may have mixed feelings to hear. Let me just have a look at these questions here. Okay. So, first of all, from John Massey. How do you feel the season has gone so far for you and everyone? So you've covered yourself.
2 games. Wow. We're really.
Yeah, absolutely.
About.
I mean, this is whatever, cutting edge. But we've kind of answered that.
It's gone a little bit rough for the few people who've had to re-rack, but they've you discussed that in your last episode. Yeah. They've had good reasons and it's made sense. I think get it out of the way now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's better that it's gone better for re-racking.
It's been good to see the level of enthusiasm, though.
Yeah,
a lot of people really getting into it.
And David Dyson, what team do you fear the most? We mentioned the Warhogs.
The Warhogs, yeah.
What are your most underrated and overrated skills?
Underrated and overrated.
An interesting question. Again, from Dyson.
I agree with you that block is overrated. It's not that it's bad. It's not bad. It's very dependable, but it is overrated in how ubiquitous some people think it needs to be. Like they need to on as many players as quick as possible, which used to be my attitude.
I think it is for new players because it's a very simple skill to understand as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm trying to encourage. Well, you know this. I've battered you with points about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad it's sunk in positively. But yeah, it's definitely easier for newer players to use.
Undervalued skills. That's an interesting one. I can't really think of a skill that I would undervalue that I then think isn't or is great, but everyone else.
So
thinks
maybe what
quite
skills
poor.
don't you think are very good?
Ooh, that's an interesting one as well. I can't think of the skills, and I don't want to start looking at the skill list and flicking through.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think a skill that I think most people overlook, but then when they take, they realise how brilliant it is guard. Mm-hmm. Because I think it looks less appetizing, or because it doesn't do anything actively, as it were. It's a very passive trait. But when you have someone with it, you realise just how fantastic it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I again, like you say, I wouldn't. I wouldn't necessarily say it's underrated, but because it's not active and it doesn't do anything for the player it's on
People
specifically,
sometimes gloss over
they're
it.
like, yeah, my guy's got the SPP, he's got the skill up, let's get something for him.
Yeah.
Whereas guard is definitely a team play skill.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Then from Andy Howe,
Andy Howe, yeah.
constantly mispronounced his name, and he
I
hasn't.
asked him again recently. I was just like, I keep thinking you're Hoff, but you're not Hoff, you're Howe.
I've mispronounced it the entire time, and he hasn't said a thing. So thank you very much, Andy, for your patience.
Andy Howe.
Why have you taken the skill upgrades that you've taken?
Because I'll come into that in a second, but was there a second part of that?
Yeah, but it's more. It's not related to the skills. So
okay.
it sounded like I was going to lead in.
It did.
I'm not. There's a question mark there. Let's answer that one first.
Because they're more interesting, a bit more diverse. And I wanted more mutations, really, is
Fair.
what I wanted to do. When I'm playing a team that has access to mutations, I'm going to take mutations.
I think that's entirely fair.
So, yeah, I've got extra heads, extra arms, claw, stuff like that.
And they still help you get points and win games.
Absolutely.
So, and there's some interesting ones in there that you can pick up that I think will be very interesting, although quite niche. I think that's the thing. The mutations are oddly more niche than the skills, so they can really help out in tight spaces.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to put yourself in those tight spaces or awkward
You have to engineer
situations.
them.
Yeah. Why did you choose the race you have?
Well,
we've
sort of
covered
discussed
that.
at the start. Yeah, my love
and this
goats.
then leads, how are you trying to win matches against touchdown teams versus BT teams? Do you have a change in tactics?
Yeah, I think so. I think the advantage of this team is it's quite versatile. The way I've built it is it's probably a little bit better at touching down against fighty teams than it is to try and fight those punchy teams, because it's not. I haven't built it to be super punchy. It's still not bad, and against teams that aren't engineered, that are like me, middle of the road, or are a more touchdown oriented team, it can do quite good fighting. Because I've got several strength 4 guys. That's already great. We've got the big guy, got the Mino, and I've got someone with claw as well. So that's pretty solid. Against teams that want to fight a little bit more, I've got guys with extra arms, so reliable ball play. I've now got guys with extra heads and dodge, so they're good at disengaging and running off. So I think it's quite versatile. I can kind of play. I can adapt on the fly quite nicely.
So you've kind of embraced the different skill trees you can go down, or the different routes, and that is rewarding. While your team's not as reliable in that if one guy gets taken out, his specialism's gone. It does mean you've got different players that you can break in case of emergencies.
Exactly. I've usually got 2 guys who can each do a role, but they do it in different ways.
Absolutely, which is my dream.
Yeah.
Cool. Brilliant. And then we've got John Massey again. Do you think you can win, and why? Throwing down the gauntlet.
I think I could possibly. The team has the capability, and I've played enough Blood Bowl to know how to play well enough that I could potentially win. But again, this is a really, like, the whole league, not just this conference, is really tough. There's a lot of very good players, and some very tough teams. So yeah, maybe, but I think I'll probably end up mid-table.
Fair enough. I think that's even more fair to say because of the polarization of the factions we've got.
Yeah.
So you'll never be playing until the playoffs, if you get into the playoffs, an Orc team or a Skaven team.
Yes.
So you don't get the experience against them leading up to playing them. And you've played Orcs yourself.
And I've played a lot against a lot of Skaven in the first Spartans League.
Indeed, but you've not played the Hownow Brown Cows against them.
Indeed.
So it will operate differently by virtue of being a different race, and that's going to be difficult. I think that's fair enough. And Johnny Chill, last question we have from the audience. Who is the coach's favourite player in their squad, and why?
I've got 2.
That's not favourite then, is it? Pick one.
Do you know what? Weirdly, it's actually not my best player as well. It's Grimhoof, who is the guy who took an injury really early on and still has been key to my success in damn near every game I've played, and has now got 18 star player points, extra arm and wrestle. He's done very well for himself considering he's only armor 7. So I think it's him rather than Catchnatch, who is he's the star of the team. Grimhoof's damn near the star, and he's been there.
He's kind of like the main character of the film that's made about your team, and it's about his story to become the star player.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you made like a boxing movie and focused on the coach rather than the boxer themselves. That'd be my analogy.
Fair enough. All right then. Well, that was all on questions from the audience. So thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you very much for having me.
Anything you'd like to say before you go? No? Great. No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming down. I wish you luck in the rest of your games except ours.
Yeah, absolutely. The same to you.
Thanks.
I think we've tied it up nicely.
Okay, brilliant. In that case, lead us out.
Well, I hope everyone enjoys the season to come, and let's get ready to fumble.
Y'all ready for this?